All right, welcome back. Thanks for checking out my channel. So today we're looking at the Mascouche trails. We're going to look at the south side trails, so these guys right here. If you didn't catch the last video, I covered all these trails, the north side trails. There'll be a link at the end of this video if you want to check that out, and a link in the description as well. So today we're going to be looking at all these trails here, and starting from the community center right here. So the first trail we're going to look at is this one right here. Rousseau. Rousseau is a bit of a mixed bag. It definitely is not classed properly at all. There's probably about a 3 to 4 super steep, super rough hike-a-bike sections. There are some okay sections that flow. If you can see, there's a little creek down here that kind of run along the creek and are easy to do. But overall, just because of the hike-a-bike sections, and it's too bad it wasn't upkept a little bit better. All they have to do is just build a few bridges and keep it up a little bit better and clean it up a little bit, and it would be a fairly decent trail. One thing about Rousseau is that this trail should have been classed as, at the minimum, intermediate blue, because it is really rooty and it is pretty technical. So I don't know how it got classed this way, but maybe I'll make a note and send to Trail Forks or something. Let's go check it out. Just doing a quick lap of the pond here, making sure everything's in order. Looks pretty good. So on the gravel trails, we're just gonna stick right until the trailhead. And again, once you get under the canopy, just stick right, as the trail runs along the creek, so it can be a little bit easy to miss. Watching the video now post ride, I still don't really know what to think. I mean, now that I'm not out there, it actually looks pretty scenic, I guess. But when you're in it and you're sweating and you're hot and there's not a whole ton of flow, it wasn't the best experience. But, you know, again, now seeing the video, I don't know anymore. It kind of looks okay. I don't know whether to recommend it or not. You be the judge. So this is one of the worst hike-a-bike sections. It was Rudy's side slope, washed out hills, and it just kind of ruined the flow. So it was a little bit of a disappointment. It's too bad. But nothing that a few bridges and a little bit of work can fix. Okay, so Rousseau finishes with a short climb that lands on the paved bike path right about here. What we're going to do is we climb this bike path here and we end up in this intersection. And then we're going to hit a trail called Ridge. Ridge is predominantly double track trail, but the actual mountain bike trail runs just alongside it. It runs along a ridge line, and I recommend it as a trail. I thought it was a pretty good trail, as you'll see. The grading's flat, there's no huge elevation changes. You kind of mirror this double track trail, and it's a fairly enjoyable ride. It's nothing too difficult or anything. Let's check it out. When you come out of Ridge, just make sure to stay left, so hang a left and a left as you see here to get back to the bike path, and that will bring us to the next set of trails. So we're going to hang a right off of the paved bike path onto a trail called Le Retour à la Maison. We're going to go through all the intersections. And then we're going to hang a left to get to a trail called Diego. Alright, so here we are. We arrived at the trailhead of Diego. Diego is an interesting trail. The cool thing about Diego is that it runs through a red pine forest, and I think that's one of the highlights of the trail. It's not the most difficult trail. It's a little bit of a mazy style trail. I would recommend it. It didn't stick out to me, aside from the red pines, which are really beautiful. It didn't really stick out to me as being anything too special, but I mean, if you want to add it to your ride, then I would recommend it. So let's go check that one out. I should probably mention that the topography or the grading of this trail is pretty flat. It's a pretty flat trail. There's a little tiny bit of slope towards the tail end or the back end of it, but it does flow fairly well. You can keep your speed up. It's a little bit mazy in terms of the trail switching back on itself, things like that. I'm not the biggest fan of mazy trails. We'll see a trail later that's just crazy maze style, and definitely not my thing. That sound you hear of someone yelling Chloe is a lady who unfortunately lost her dog. I took her number down and was trying to look for the dog while I finished the rest of my ride, but I didn't see anything. So I don't know what happened. It's too bad. Okay, so when you finish Diego, it brings you back to the entrance here of another trail called Sansi Deva. Now, this trail was a bit of a weird one. So when you start here, and if you follow my mouse, so all here, the whole front end of the trail here, the grading on it is fairly flat. So it's very pedally. And let's say when you get right here and cross this trail, this whole back end, so the tail end has a little bit of a downhill slope to it. I personally didn't find it that good or enjoyable. I think it might be a new trail as well. It was a little bit soft, so it wasn't hard packed enough where you're rolling with, decent speed. Would I recommend it? I would say, one thumb up, one thumb down. Let's check out the video and you can decide. So for the sake of making this cut a little more interesting, I cut out most of the flat stuff and I included more of the faster rolling clips. So it might make it look like it's a flowy trail, but the majority of the trail is pretty flat and pedally. Anyway. Alright, so this brings us to the maze that is mellow, which is right here. I'm not a big fan of mazy trails like this if they're on flat. It's not my thing. I couldn't wait to get out of it. It's super long. You're going to be stuck in there for about an hour or so. It's 3.5 kilometers long. It's the tail end of it, this section here. It's a little bit rooty. There are some areas that flow, and in the cut that I did, I'm showing kind of the best parts, but for me personally, I wouldn't recommend this. If you like this kind of mazy stuff on flats where it's just kind of looping back, going on and on forever, then if that's your thing, then go for it. But I personally would not recommend this trail. I would just skip it, even though it has a few slightly flowy sections. So I'm not going to include a whole bunch of video, just a few short clips. We will take it from there. I much rather ride trails that follow the natural topography versus just kind of being scribbled all over the area. When you're going along and then you see the trail like 2 feet away from you that you just went on, I think it's really kind of silly. But if that's your thing and you want to spend an hour going through a maze and having your butt hurt like you rode a crazy Bronco, then you know that's your thing, go for it. But this one it's going to be a pass for me next time. Alright, so here we're just headed back on the main trail. This trail is sand, but it's really hard packed. It rolls like pavement almost. And there's a pretty fun little downhill section just before you get to the gravel paths that bring you back to the parking lot. So it's a nice way to finish off the ride. Alright, so let's do a quick recap here of the Mascouche Southside Trails. First one we did was Rousseau, and Rousseau, tentatively for me, it's going to be a soft pass until they fix up some of the sections to help for better flow and a little bit more trail maintenance. Soft pass for Rousseau, tentatively. Next was Ridge. Ridge was a nice trail. Ridge is definitely hit that. Nice trail that follows the ridge line. Not too difficult. Then we crossed over and hit Diego right here. Diego was recommended. Not the best trail out there, but if you want to include it in your ride, I would recommend it. After that, you can hit Sentier Diva. Again, same thing as Diego, not the best trail out there, but it is all right. And then we have Mellow. So for me, Mellow personally is a hard pass. I would not recommend it. Then we take the sand trail home called La Côte, and that brings you all the way back to the parking lot. So that sums up the Southside Trails for Mascouche. So hopefully that'll help you plan your ride. And the next thing we'll cover is the trails down in Talbot. So stay tuned for that video, which should be coming up fairly soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a like.